Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candito.
And we're coming at you with a movie that at one point in time I felt like was pretty darn ginormous, but I know that like in the process took its sweet time to get there. But that is the 2000s, the Boondock Saints. And I know sometimes this one goes by different like dates depending on how you look at it, but it didn't come out in the U.S. till 2000s. And let's be honest, that's when it matters, is when it comes down to U.S. Not like anybody could go see it, though. Right. It went to 5 theaters, so good luck. I don't even know who saw this movie.
Man, I actually didn't know that it had such a limited theatrical release.
Well, did you watch that documentary that I sent you about it?
I didn't get a chance to, no.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I'll say the documentary's called Overnight, but it's a cool kind of story to see the kind of like behind the scenes of this movie all kind of coming together. I will say the documentary's kind of long-winded because I hadn't watched it since the 2000s when I like got it.
Which documentary isn't?
Yeah, but yeah, it's like one of those ones you watch it and kind of go like, you know, you could probably cut a half an hour out of this thing, and I don't think anything's lost because there's just a lot of that, like, you know, handy cam footage where it's just like the guys hanging out and stuff. I'm like, that stuff's cool to like you and your buddies. Nobody else cares. Like they have no idea what you're laughing at. We don't know what's going on, but the overall story of it is very interesting because like the Boondock Saints, the movie that's interesting in itself. But how it got kind of created and where it went to and its legacy is almost a whole other kind of can of worms. It's pretty darn interesting.
Yeah. I've been wanting to rewatch it for a long time. This one isn't like Blade and Fifth Element where I'd seen bits and pieces on TV when I was young. I actually did watch this movie years ago to its fullest extent.
Like the old Blu-ray copy. Did you have one of these ones?
Exactly. Yes. And I have it no longer, unfortunately, but I just freaking loved it, dude. This is the kind of movie that if you've never been to Boston, I don't see how you wouldn't want to go to Boston after watching this. Just to check it out and see if it's really as shitty as it looks like. As far as the Boondocks go.
Yeah.
That was another thing. I didn't really know what the title meant when I first watched it, and I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know what kind of movie I was watching. The Boondock Saints. I always thought Boondock was kind of a funny word, and then of course when that animated series, The Boondocks, came out,
amazing.
I was like, what does this mean? I thought maybe it had some kind of like inappropriate connotations to it, but Boondock is just like another like word for like slums, ghetto, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, so there was a lot that I was, if anything, just figuring out what the hell that was supposed to mean. I was really interested in the film. And I also, before I saw the Boondock Saints, I saw Blade 2. And I thought Norman Reedus was such a cool dude. And when I saw that he was in the movie, that made me want to watch it too. And I found it pretty hilarious, his Irish accent. And I read up on it. Like, it was one of the things criticized in the film was him. It was like, it was very hit and miss. Like sometimes it seemed pretty like almost void of being an accent at all. And sometimes like extreme, but
it's like Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. There's like a few moments in that movie where he attempts a British accent, and then it just goes out of the picture. He's like, nope, I'm Kevin. That's what you got. You get American Robin Hood here.
Yeah. But yeah, I did. I got to say, especially after the rewatch, I like Norman Reedus as an actor. I think he's a good actor, and I think he's a decent actor. He's not my favorite actor, but for some reason I just like him a lot. And he's also a pretty cool dude outside of film. Like he does a lot with motorcycles and stuff. I think he's got a show now that's him riding with other famous people, of course. He's not going to pick some jerk off the street and be like, motorcycles?
Yeah, say Norman Reedus rides with other famous people. You know, exactly. Well, it's funny because this is the movie I like Norman because I know everybody always thinks of Norman Reedus from many other things, you know, especially The Walking Dead and so on like that. This is what I always think of Norman Reedus as, like for the ever it says, oh, the Boondock Saints guy and so on like that. And I remember even there was one of the Comic-Cons once that it was him literally there with Sean Patrick Flanery and so on like that, and they were kind of, and I just kind of, I did the thing where it's like, well, I'm not paying $100 to go meet them,
Exactly.
but I'll look from like 30 feet away and go, oh hey, there they are, like that's good. And I hate to sort of say it, like you pay $50 and they, they'll shake your hand and be like, hey, thanks for being a big fan, you're like,
thanks for just like $100.
Yeah, they're like, cool, thanks for $100, kid, get the fuck out of here, you know what I mean? Next. That's how it kind of goes down, but
yeah.
Well, it's like one of those ones, like there's great actors in this one too, because I also like Sean Patrick Flanery a lot too, which strange enough, after this movie I don't think of a whole lot of stuff he did, but what I always think of him most in is he's Indiana Jones in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. So that's like his biggest claim to fame. I mean, probably Boondock Saints is probably bigger by this point, but Young Indy, like he plays in all those, and if no one's ever seen those before, which they kind of were hard to watch for the longest time, you had to really go out of your way to find them.
Yeah.
All the stuff, especially all the Sean Patrick Flanery Indiana Jones stuff, is fantastic.
Sean Patrick Flanery was Powder. You remember that old movie Powder?
No, I don't.
It's the so I almost feel bad for laughing about it. It's just kind of a strange movie. It's a science fiction drama. He plays this kid named Powder, who's his name's Jeremy Powder Reed. He has an incredible intellect as well as telepathy and paranormal powers, like controlling lightning and magnetism. But he's like kind of bullied and stuff for being an albino. But it's it's a wildly different character than playing gosh, what was his name? Not Murphy.
And the Boondock Saints. The hell is that guy's name?
He was Connor.
Yeah, Connor McManus. All that there, and so well, it's like everybody that's in here too. They all have like very like Irish last names, so it's like they're almost like chosen because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I
love, as much as I like Norman Reedus, David Del Rocco is my favorite character in this movie. Second would be, I don't want to say it's a tie between David and what's his name, Willem Dafoe.
Oh yeah, Willem Dafoe does chew some scenery in here.
Such a silly.
And it's interesting to think too, is because like this movie, because like Troy Duffy, this is like the interesting thing about this story is he's the writer director. Mm-hmm. He just literally wrote this script in like 1996. He was like working at a bar in Los Angeles, and then he was trying to put together his grunge rock band and so on like that. And he happened to just get this script passed to somebody who ended up passing along, and it actually turned into a big deal item where like people were throwing down some huge amount of money for it, to a point where Harvey Weinstein at Miramax literally was going to give like $1 million to get this movie going and so on like that. And then
he was going to have to molest Norman. So
probably, well, it's funny if you saw that documentary, it's because it's kind of interesting just seeing this Troy Duffy guy, because this is the whole thing is like, this is really all he's done is he did the Boondock Saints 1 and 2. And then he had his little band that they did one album with and so on. But like, because he kind of, I think like he kind of just runs his mouth to so many people and just like talks shit and then thinks he's the best and everything like that. And you kind of go, okay, well, you're decent. Pump the brakes there. Yeah, you and your one movie and your grunge rock band, because he's like, man, we're gonna change music. They don't even know what's going on. And I don't know. Did you listen to that album?
No, I hadn't yet. I was we were doing kind of a lot today. I was teaching my wife how to parallel park and doing a bunch
you should put those tunes on while you're doing it.
Oh man,
because I just flipped through it just because it was I just wanted to hear what it sounded like, especially after that documentary they talked about for so long. And because that was the whole thing, he was going between the band and the movie, band movie, and then of course the movie kind of started finally going like after a couple of years. It like was taking its sweet time. He had to switch a couple of different companies, and then the band members were getting angry, like, man, you just focus on this movie, man. What about the band? That's what we come to LA for. Yeah, he's all like, fuck you. Yeah, you get out of here.
They had a tour lined up, a worldwide tour. Man.
Well, it's funny because like they actually, once they finally put the album together and everything like that, and it's actually after the movie came out, it says it's like they sold 694 copies of the album.
Man,
I'm like, boy, that's that if that doesn't tell you something.
That would be pretty cool if they were from Twain Hart.
Yeah, that's like the whole town, your whole family.
Or Arnold or something.
Yeah, everybody in your school bought one copy,
Like, yeah.
So it's like, you see that there. And so, and he thinks he's like, man, I'm going to have the biggest Hollywood career ever and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, man, that's it, And don't get me wrong. Here's the thing: the Boondock Saints is a damn fine movie. I really hadn't watched it since the 2000s. I remember because I kind of came to it a little bit late, but I think kind of everybody sort of did because I don't know how the hell you saw it in the early days. They show because this movie, like literally Harvey Weinstein pretty much blackmailed this movie so that like it got so little press, it was hidden. Columbine happened right beforehand, so that pushed it kind of back, and that made him kind of scared to put it out because of violence and on. So there's a lot of those things there. So there's a lot of stuff kind of going against this movie, realistically. It's funny because it's one of those movies that I felt like its popularity almost spiked like 10 years after the movie came out. Like I remember like in the late 2000s and even like 2010s, like that I would hear people all over the place talk about this movie. You'd see Boondock Saints t-shirts and so on. It's like one of those ones like felt like people were kind of a little bit late. I thought I was late to the party, but then I'm like, boy, everybody else is kind of like really late to the party here.
Yeah.
And it's like it got this weird popularity way later on. And it spiked, and then of course there was the sequel and everything like that. And then it sort of dwindled down. And for the longest time, you actually haven't heard a whole lot about this movie. It's kind of weird. It's like there was a brief moment where it was really big deal, and it was big deal because it was on video. It was like one of those movies that did extremely well on DVD. And I heard one thing that actually Blockbuster bought it to put it in their like Blockbuster selections thing. So they kind of bought the rights for the DVD stuff, and that pushed it really well. And that actually got it out there, which makes sense because this one's not from there because it's actually somebody else's version.
Yeah,
a couple of them. But I could have swore the one I bought was actually from Blockbuster. So it makes kind of logical sense that that's where I found it at.
Yeah. Yeah, poor Blockbuster.
they were riding all on that Boondock Saints, and then that was kind of it.
Man, that's every time I think about Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, I don't know if you ever remember a Hollywood Video.
I do. I used to go to the one in Modesto.
Yeah,
to go find stuff.
There was that, and I know there was another one, and I can't remember the name of it. When I was a kid, before I left Stockton, there was another one. It became a Hollywood Video, but it had a different name before. I think Hollywood Video bought it, bought out the company. And then, I mean, it went under eventually anyway. They all did. But I tell you, I was really surprised when I came to this area in 2017. There was a store in the middle of town called Family Video. And I guess Family Video is a big Midwestern video rental joint. So just like Blockbuster, Hollywood, this Family Video place was a big staple of the film, I don't know.
Yeah, the rental market
industry.
Yeah,
and it finally went out of business. The one here in town in like 2021, I believe, because it was here when I left, and when we came back, it was shut down.
Yeah,
and I left in late December 2020. It was still operating.
But so you know why it shut down? It's because you left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Man. Yeah, but it always surprised me. I'm like, I can't believe this place is still open. I don't know if there's any of them left, but it wasn't the same. Like, so I know, like, I think it's in Oregon that there was still one Blockbuster left, but it was just the name Blockbuster. Like,
because it's not really an official Blockbuster. People always kind of get that kind of confused. Yeah, it's in a sense, it's an independent store that just happened to buy the building and keep running it, and because there's no real Blockbuster corporation to sue them, that's how it kind of works out. It's kind of like you probably could go out and set up a Hollywood Video, and no one's going to have any going to stop you. You could probably just find some, signs and all that stuff off of eBay and put together one, and you could say, "I have the last Hollywood Video." Man.
And then of course I wouldn't make any money, and I'd have to close my business down. Because there's no money in it anymore.
The only thing I feel like you could do is, this sounds weird, but you could probably put together a really cool video store, but then treat it like a museum and charge people admission to come walking through, and have like a mix match of like, all the, not only would you have videos, Laserdisc, all that kind of stuff, but you would have the thing where here's different VCRs throughout the years. Here's different players, and you know what I mean? Like really make it kind of, best way I can say is like there's like Computer History Museum in Mountain View that's badass.
I think that the museum, I don't know if there's an industry for museums, but I feel like that's something that's totally underutilized, because you can make a museum out of anything.
Yeah, you literally
Um,
could. Some people get to the point where they have such a collection of like toys and something like that that they're like, oh shit, I got enough things that I'll just turn my apartment to a museum for like 3 months.
yeah, exactly. But anyway, yeah, the getting your copy at Blockbuster, I think I got mine at Walmart. I don't know. I think it was in one of those bins where you walk by and it's like they got, 90 movies in a bin that's $5 and under, and it's like the same like 5 movies but duplicated, in that whole bin like 20 times. But the sometimes that's where the gold is, man.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, we decided to watch this the other week. That's why I brought it up to you, because same thing. Norman Reedus, once again, I don't know what it is with this guy, but people seem to love the crap out of him. And my wife and I think I was telling you, we've been watching The Walking Dead, and she was looking at something online about Norman Reedus. She goes, Boondock Saints, have you seen that? I said, yeah, it's a great movie. She goes, we should watch it. I said, okay. And we watch it, and I don't know where I was going with that, but that's what happened. That's why I suggested.
Well, when you mentioned it, I'm like, you know what? I've been wanting to watch this again. I haven't seen it forever. Like, it's been at least over 10 plus years since the last time I watched it. It's like I've been kind of wanting to watch it again too. I'm like, yeah, that sounds right. We should do that. That'll be fun.
I think my favorite thing I've ever watched with Norman Reedus, aside from this movie and The Walking Dead and Blade, is got to be he did a episode of Masters of Horror, which you can find obviously the hard copies of, but you can also watch on Amazon. I don't know how many seasons there are, but I think there might just be one. I really don't know. But there's an episode on there called Cigarette Burns, and it stars him, and it's a really cool show. Really, really interesting show. They're like, I think they're like 40 minutes long, 45 minutes long, and they're each different. Like, they don't connect. They're all individual stories. And I think there's like 10 episodes, but really cool. I think it's one of those like, what's his name?
So it's episodic, not serial.
Yes. Yeah. And they're not connected. They're different directors, and I think it's presented by John Carpenter, maybe.
Okay. So it's like an anthology then. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what's what's not to like though about this movie. Really, it's like you said, came out in the 2000s, and when it actually came out, there's that debate because of the different release times, and like you said, it's it only matters when it comes out here. That's the real debate.
That's the thing. Yeah, but it's a fun movie, and it's the fact that it's the dude's first movie. He's never directed before, never wrote before. Like, you almost got to kind of give it credit. I mean, granted, he has a full real team behind him to help him out. It's not like it's made totally independently, like say Clerks or something, or El Mariachi. But it's in that, like, what I call the Tarantino knockoff kind of era. And I don't think that's really necessarily a bad thing. I mean, when you use the word knockoff, it sounds like it's derogatory. But to me, I love that kind of era, because you get movies like, of course, the Boondock Saints, but that's where like things like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which Snatch is another one too, all the Guy Ritchie stuff, because he always feels like the British Tarantino at the end of the day. There's even other movies like 3,000 Miles from Graceland that has a very Tarantino vibe to it. Way of the Gun, which is another really good one. Yeah. Too, that they always said they're just these kind of post-era Tarantino after Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, where people are kind of capitalizing on that style. And that's probably exactly why Harvey Weinstein was going after this. He was like, that's going to be his next boy, because he had Tarantino, he had Kevin Smith, you know what I mean? His brother had Robert Rodriguez. So they were capturing all these like 90s guys like Pokemon, and training them to like make movies. But of course, Troy Duffy and Harvey Weinstein kind of had a feud, and that ended that relationship fast. Probably was like, "Not sucking your dick."
Yeah, why not? What I really love about this film, I don't know, maybe it's just me in my warped mind, but the way the movie plays out, the plot, and just everything, it seems. It almost seems realistic in a fantastic way. Like it's like between fantasy and reality. Like when they get in that fight in the beginning of the movie in the Irish pub, beat the crap out of the Russian guys. And then, of course, they are upset about it. So they come back and try to kill the McManus brothers and then fail in doing so. They defend themselves and kill them guys. The way that, what's his name? Willem Dafoe's character, the FBI detective, is like figuring everything out and whatnot. And he goes to the police station, the local police department, and the brothers just walk in and tell him, "Hey, this is what happened." Like, and he's like, "Well, you guys are free to go. You're defending yourselves." And then for the rest of the movie, he has no idea who's taking out these other Russians and other mob bosses.
But he was told right at the very beginning that, like, hey, we went here and we defended ourselves and all this kind of stuff. And then this string of events happen afterwards and so on.
And he just can't figure it out. And even if he had an idea, you know how screwed up the justice system is in this country. And like the fact that you need so much to really even think about bringing somebody to court so that you don't look like an ass. I think this movie, I don't think they were trying to do that, but they really did portray that very well. And I thought, anyway, it's hilarious and sad. And every freak out that Willem Dafoe has is freaking hilarious. Like where he's, what do we have? Do we have this? No, we don't. And like just every, it was so good, man. That like, I want to watch more and more of Willem Dafoe because of this movie, because I've watched, I feel like very little, like Platoon.
Have you ever seen Born on the 4th of July?
No, I haven't.
Well, dude, you're in for like something amazing. There is literally a wheelchair fight between him and Tom Cruise. It is the most epic scene. Nobody really wins. That's that was the moral of that wheelchair fight. But yeah, when you see it, you're like, oh my god.
I forgot he was in John Wick. I forgot about that. And that's a have you seen those movies, the John Wick movies?
I've seen them all in theaters.
Yeah, I love them all. I haven't seen the ballerina one.
Super good. Still just as good as the other ones. They got a badass. There's a flamethrower fight in there that's like a Dragon Ball Z battle. I get you. It's so cool. Like I was like, dude, I've never seen this before in a movie. Because a lot of times that's like one of the biggest things I like. If I could see something in a movie and I go like, I've never seen this before, even if the movie is maybe not even the greatest, like I love that kind of feeling of like, oh, never seen that. That's brand new to me,
And then I also love how, once again, I'm thinking about how I could see people really doing this shit in real life. When they go to do their initial hit, the McManus brothers, on those Russian crime bosses, and they're crawling through the vents, and then they get in a fight because,
brothers.
1, they're brothers. 2, they're Irish. And
3, they're Irish brothers.
Yeah, 3, they're Irish brothers, and 4, their plan is kind of stupid.
Yeah, they're not the brightest kids.
No, and and then the way that it happens, of course, is so janky and screwed up that, of course, the dudes in that room have got to be like perplexed. Like what? And of course, it like there's 2 reasons why if you happen to stumble upon a firefight or one that's about to happen, that you're gonna die, and that's gonna be adrenaline and the element of surprise that you don't have. So once both of those things kick in, you're fumbling around and like, and of course, like, I don't know how much they really showed that. I don't think they did. I think the dudes really were like pulling their gun out pretty easily, but the fact that they were all surprised and whatnot, and the McManus brothers are swinging around on their rope that Norman Reedus was so pissed off about that he had to carry around.
Yeah. They have a whole scene beforehand where they're like, they go through this armory and they're picking stuff out, and fucking Connor's like, I gotta have this rope. He's like, Chief, what do you mean you gotta have the rope? He's like, I gotta have the rope. He's like, in all action movies they have a rope. Charles Bronson had a rope. He's like, I don't want to take this heavy ass rope. Yeah. And
it's so fun. Before I go further on that, it's funny. So yeah, like you said, they go after this fight, this bar fight, and after they turn themselves in, after they get released, so on and so forth, because they were defending themselves, blah blah blah. They say to the news, the police, law enforcement says to the news that they're not charged with anything. It was self-defense. They're laying in bed in their crappy apartment that I don't think they really pay to live in.
Just like I love this, the toilets just like there's like no room. It's just it's literally looks like a prison cell almost.
It does. It reminds me of like a shop, like a workshop.
Yeah.
Because I've been like I don't know about you, but when you and I were doing cable with Comcast, like I'd been to a lot of workshops in Arnold, carpenters and machinists and stuff, and they had like toilets. Like they weren't just open like that, but in their garage and workspace, they had like a single, like it was almost like a church like confessional room.
Yeah, that was a bathroom.
Yeah, and but that kind of it makes me think they're just it's this industrial crappy building they live in. That's all. But yeah, so they're laying in bed, and all of a sudden the Lord speaks to them. You know, it's dripping water through the cracks in the ceiling as it's raining, and it's splashing them both in the face. And then they both wake up and they're like, oh, because that prayer, whatever that their priest was saying, they start getting all religious, and it's a big moment. And then they both decide, like, yeah, we got to purge Boston of evil, you know? And
yeah. Well, because that prayer at the very beginning, because that's how the movie starts off, is they're going to church, a big Catholic one and whatnot. And that dude's talking about, like, I saw it in the Wikipedia thing, so that's the only reason I know this. He said about there was like an incident like in the 60s or something like that, where like this bartender, Irish chick, got, you know, it was in Boston, I think, and she got like literally raped and murdered outside, screaming and all this kind of stuff. And like nobody did anything about it. Yeah. So it like that was kind of been like the thing where it's just like, you know, later on people are like, well, I didn't know what it was. Like, yeah, I heard something.
Oh, sue me, you know, like, oh, so I hear someone screaming and I have to just like do something about, you know.
Yeah, I gotta put pants on and go outside and be like, hey, you, none of this now. Yeah, Mr. Stabby McRape out here is gonna fucking like come after me next.
Do you mind? Yeah, it made me think of Team America when he's outside in the alleyway like throwing up, and that woman's like, get out of the street, you fucking bum. I love that whole scene.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's amazing. I like the music just keeps picking up the more it goes.
Yeah, the more that he pukes, he stops, and then it gets louder with the music, and he pukes more and more. My cousin said that he went and saw that movie with his parents, and and he said that his dad was like laughing so hard that he was almost throwing up at that scene.
Oh, that's amazing.
But anyway, yeah.
So they have their religious experience, which pretty much sets them on a crusade to be like the Irish Punishers at the end of the day, because that's really what this movie is. This movie is really like it's a Punisher movie at the end of the day. Yeah, just happen to be these Irish guys that, you know, decide like, you know, it's
they're not as angry as the Punisher.
No, well, yeah, because nothing. Yeah, because nothing happened really to them. It's not like they're like literally like, "Hey, your whole family's just been murdered," and you know, now you're going to. They're actually not taking revenge. They just decide that nobody's cleaning up the streets properly. They decide to do it. You know what I mean? They just decide one day. They you know, we're on a mission from God, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. But so you know, after that, so their mission. After they did defend themselves against those two Russian guys. Norman Reedus, of course, he picks up the guns, which are a couple of Desert Eagles. And they're like fancy, like they got Russian crap on them. You know, like you think about these mobs, like the Russian mob. I don't see this as much with Italian mobs quite as much. When it comes to like their dress, their accoutrements, their style, like they usually seem very well tailored and like kept up, very well kept and everything. They look professional, but they usually don't seem as elaborate as like Russian gangsters or Mexican mafia, stuff like that, who usually
they gotta have the custom guns,
like gold plated everything and diamonds and blah blah blah. So these two Desert Eagles that they bring to this guy who I guess is selling weapons on the black market, I found it very interesting that they give him two Desert Eagles that are clearly Russian gangsters. They got the hammer and sickle on them and stuff. And he looks at him and says, all right, take whatever you want. I mean, like at that time, that was probably like, I don't know, $1,800 worth of gun. And he's like, yeah, just go right ahead. And they go into a room with like military armaments, you know, like this giant sniper rifle in there that's like thousands upon thousands of dollars. And it's one of those things that unless you don't like, I know a lot about guns, and I'm humble about it because I learn something new every day, but I can't help. Like my wife laughs every time we're watching something. I'm like, no, this is wrong. You know, like, this is baloney.
The equal trade is not enough. Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, what is wrong with you, guy? Like, I guess it's just a down payment. But yeah, no, the Walking Dead's the worst. They're always shooting rifles with no sights and stuff, and it's pretty hilarious.
Were they like dead aiming everything without it? Shoot from the
pretty
hip.
much. Like if you take like a flat top AR-15, no sights, and they're like, I'm like, there's nothing there. Like I don't know what you think you're doing.
Yeah, what are you looking down? Yeah.
A guy makes a bullet that was a 44 Magnum. He takes the casing and makes a bullet for this girl that asked him for it, and she puts it in her 9mm Beretta. And I'm like, that's not.
That's not.
That ain't gonna work. What the? But anyway, yeah. So I was at that scene. I rewound it because I'm watching it, like just enjoying the movie, and once they stepped into the armory and started loading their bags up and everything, I'm like, wait a minute, and I'm like. I rewind. I'm like, did he just say like, go ahead, and but yeah, no, it was just kind of silly. But I do love that scene because you see that in a lot of different movies, action movies, where like you got a couple of guys that are about to either go on a mission or go do this risky whatever, like these guys, like the McManus brothers have chosen to become the vigilantes of Boston. But where, your protagonist goes into a room full of guns and they're like, oh my God, it's El Dorado, like it always makes me laugh when I see these kinds of scenes. Cause it makes me think of like when I was a kid, and like, I would only imagine, like what it would be like if I was in Call of Duty or some crap or Halo for all that matters, like where I go into this room with like this giant arsenal and I'm like, whoa, like what's that one going to do?
You pick up a rocket launcher, and a needler, and you're ready to go.
Oh yeah, some sticky grenades. But.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they load up there. They grab the rope as well. The all important rope that's going to come in very, very, very handy.
Well, and I love that scene too. So this is what I was getting. This is what I was getting at was one of those things about just how I feel like I could see people doing this in real life. They take out all those Russian mob guys, and they're just kind of like, oh, all right. And they're looking around the room. They see a package full of money, a briefcase full of money, and then they hear somebody knock at the door, and they're like, what the fuck? So they go over to the door, and who is it but David Del Rocco, their Italian buddy.
Yeah.
And who is so like, he's that third wheel, that's always like, the guy's going to do something wrong, or he's not going to live, or he's going to maybe turn on him or whatever. Like every time there's a duo in a movie that gets that third wheel, there's something's going to catch up somewhere. And he's the funny guy.
Mm-hmm. He's like Joe Pesci and Lethal Weapon in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. And of course they see that it's him, so they decide to mess with him, and that's what was hilarious, where they pull him into the room and are screaming at him and putting the guns in his face, and then they pull their hoods up like, haha, fooled you. Dude, I could see a couple of my friends doing that to me, and I could see me doing it to a couple of people I know. But
bound to happen,
But it was just hilarious. And then that scene where they go home and smoke the cat. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's a great scene. It just blows the cat away.
What was even better, and it might be my favorite scene out of the whole movie, which almost makes me ashamed because it has nothing to do with the plot, but is where his drug addict girlfriend comes home, and David Del Rocco's, and she's like, where's my cat? And he's he puts his gun to his head, and he's like, if you can say that cat's name, I will kill myself right now. I'm like, she can't think of it. So he's like, nope. Yeah, exactly. And then he tells her friend, like to shut the hell up. And he's like, I can't go buy a pack of smokes without running into 9 guys you fuck, and or 9 guys you haven't fucked. And she she once again, she's speechless too. She starts crying. But that whole scene, oh my god,
it's hilarious.
And him like so paranoid because he just murdered a couple of the dudes that were in the mob that he was with since he was a kid, because they tried to have him killed. And in that whole, it was such a coincidence with that, and the fact that the McManus brothers went to this place to kill them Russian mob guys, and Dave Del Rocco also went there, sent from his mob boss to kill them. But I guess they didn't tell him how many they were going to be there, so they only gave him a revolver with 6 rounds. And of course,
there's like 9 guys.
And I love that line that I don't know if it was Murphy or Connor, but they said like you have 6 bullets. There was 9 guys. Like, what were you going to do? Laugh the other 3 to death? Because he was the mob's funny man.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I don't know if they really gave it much of a reason. They just wanted to kill him. Like they just were like tired of him or whatever.
Well, I think because he's kind of a fuck up. That's the thing, And I think that was where he was, because you see it throughout the entire movie. He's always kind of he's literally tripping over his own dick into everything, and just somehow some way makes it until the very end. But so he is that guy who's just borderline. But I think they decide he's like he's barely gonna make this. We got to get rid of him before it's too late. Let's just do it now. Put him out of his misery.
Yeah. The gosh, what was it? Rocco. Yeah. So he tries to, he doesn't have to kill anybody because the brothers already did it for him, And so then he begs them like to let him get on their crew. So they do a handful of other missions. And, what's his name? Willem Dafoe is like, he's always on their trail, of course, and he can't, but they don't have anything on him. And then after Dave Del Rocco kills the couple of mob bosses, or not mob bosses, but the Italian mobsters, that's when he goes back to the apartment and he lays into his druggy girlfriend and her buddy. But the way that he's running around, like grabbing random things, like, we got to get out of here. And he's like grabbing like a clothes iron and like Tupperware or whatever the hell. And, and I think he just leaves it all anyway. It's like, what were you even doing?
Yeah, well, because he goes and he shoots those he goes to that like little bar cafe thing, and he shoots those 2 guys and then blows away the bartender, with his revolver and whatnot. And one thing we've got to bring up is that one of the big things that makes this movie kind of like what stand out as far as like the way that it's kind of put together is that they use a lot of these flashbacks to kind of explain stuff. Yeah. So what happens is like you see the post what it was, and this is where it's very Tarantino like. And then when Willem Dafoe comes and he's the FBI guy, he's there with the investigation team. He goes through it and he does a very like operatic type way of thinking through it
with the way that he does his detective work.
So he's very flamboyant. He's very gay too, and it's like he's hilarious gay. Like there's like that part where like he's like sleeping with this like Asian dude, and the guy goes to like cuddle him, and he slaps him once, and the guy goes again, he slaps him harder, and the guy's like, I just wanted to cuddle. He's like, no, I'm not that gay.
No, he said, I just want to cuddle, and he's like, cuddle, you faggot.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Like I laughed so hard there, and so I like that. But the whole thing is he goes through these scenes, and he's the one you technically, because you almost hear about the incident first, and then it goes back in time, and then he's kind of deciphering how it went down, and then you see the action. So that's like the way this movie goes, and like that's its like general like flow, that makes it stand out differently, I guess, than other stuff.
And I love how Willem Dafoe, you can see it coming, how he defects, like goes from trying to catch a couple of killers to wanting to help him out because he sees he can't disagree with the vigilantism. He can't disagree that they're not really doing much wrong. Like, of course, it's always kind of an eye of the beholder kind of thing. You know, it's like it's very it's a hot topic. You know, like whether or not these guys should be doing this. And I'm always like, man, if you are taking out like hardcore criminals, what the hell should I care? Like, it's not like they're doing the world any favors, but you're like making the world a better place. You're making Boston safer. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's laws, there's order, there's a system. There's always that.
Oh, so stupid. And but yeah, so then they're doing pretty good with their vigilantism, and even Rocco, who is an idiot and he screws up all the time. They go to the weird porno. I don't even know what you call that place.
It was a nudie booth.
Nudie booth. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess most people
got Rod Jeremy.
Yeah, that was the other thing too. I mean, oh my gosh. This was before, he was not insane. Now he's clinically insane. Not able to serve fit. He went to he had to go to court for sexual abuse allegations and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A few years ago. Yeah. He had to go to court on like 12 different women coming forward saying that he forcibly raped them and stuff and this and that. And conveniently, he was found unfit to stand for trial.
Conveniently, there was a camera there. He said it was part of the movie.
Yeah. So he just lives in his house, and he got released from prison, or he was not held. The state is paying those women because they weren't able to complete the trial, and I don't know. It was justice served. I don't know about that, but
it just sounds like a good. I hate to sort of say it too. Like, let's be honest. In that industry, granted, none of us are there, so you can't really make a full speculation. But I hate to sort of say it. Like, I think there's a lot of, I call it like buyer, or like, these people, they get involved in this, and then they kind of have like buyer's remorse. And then they go like, wait a second, I didn't really want to bang this guy. I mean, there was $500 involved, but you know what? It wasn't worth in the long. I think that's what happens. There's
one of those things where there's a lot of false accusations, but then it makes it really hard for the women that aren't making it up.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. It's like, if you're not there, you really can't comment.
Never know.
Like,
the only people that'll really know is Ron Jeremy and all the people that are accusing him.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, it's kind of hilarious that he was in the movie. I remember when he showed up, I was like, Ron Jeremy. And,
yeah, he spotted that guy a mile away.
She's like, who's Ron Jeremy? I'm like, let me show you. And
Super Mario.
But so he's in the nudie booth, and they blow him away, and it's pretty awesome.
So that made those women happy.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty awesome that the McManus brothers are so like. Charming is not the right word. Maybe
they are charming.
They are charming, but I mean, like, in the way that they're killing people, they have a method, and they do this shit that I feel like I probably wouldn't do, but I get why they're doing it. They're trying to send a message to the criminals. It just, when you like, they execute their main guy, whatever, and then they put the coins over everybody's eyes. They say their prayer, and and then they move on. Where Del Rocco's just in there like,
just trying to be cool. Just trying to be the cool kid, hanging out with the guys.
Exactly. And, but yeah, so they, after that, there's a girl there, I guess she's passed out, and he sees her boobie, and he's just like grabbing it. And then they're like, what the hell are you doing? And then all of a sudden after that, he's like, no, I want to do things right. And it's kind of funny. It's like, I want to do things right. The next guys we kill, I really want to make up for me grabbing the boob, I want to do it right, And then, so this Italian mob boss is kind of freaking out because his guys were all getting whacked by the McManuses and Del Rocco and whatnot. In fact, he doesn't even know that it's the McManus brothers. He just knows that Del Rocco's doing a lot of this. So he sends Il Duce. Yeah, and it means the Duke.
Yeah.
But to go. Apparently, it's a hitman that's supposed to be like the best of the best and the most terrifying dude, and somehow somebody is paid off to where they let him out of prison, and they go the three amigos, the heroes. They go to this to smoke this another hitman that David Del Rocca thought was just the worst guy ever. And it's kind of funny when you hear him describing him. He's like, it's the worst. He's just such a sicko. And I was expecting like so much worse. I don't know what that says about me, but like I thought it was going to be some like disgusting, like weird, meticulous like hit. I mean, he just went and killed people.
Not that big of a deal.
But I don't know. Maybe Del Rocca hadn't watched that many movies in his time, but or something. I don't know. Didn't play enough video games. But
missing out.
Yeah. So they go kill him, all his buddies, and him, and that was almost painful to watch. Him trying to do the job, and he ended up killing a dude with the pool cue, or not the pool cue, the pool ball, cue ball.
Yeah, the cue ball. Yeah.
Cue ball. I don't know why I couldn't think of what the what pool balls were called. But and then of course right after that they get confronted by El Duce. And what's hilarious about that scene is I love how what's his name? Willem Dafoe is describing everything, and that's probably the best scene of him describing what happened, because it's so much more animated than the rest of the scenes in the film where he's describing what happened. He's like out there dancing in the street, like hands up in the air and everything. And I told my wife, I'm like, just imagine that, like, you drive by like a crime scene, like obviously you don't go through it, you just passing by and you see this dude just like voguing,
waving his arms around and looking up and everything.
It's freaking hilarious. And he's like describes like, yeah, it was a firefight if I've ever seen one, or found one, or whatever he said. And of course the ding dong cop, what's also funny is throughout the film, these crime scenes they come across, he's always like, I don't want to say bullying the Chicago PD.
Oh, he's pretty much bullying him, let's be honest.
I guess, yeah. But it's hilarious because he's the gay guy, and he's just like smacked down, like on all these other cops that you would think know how to conduct homicide investigations, and they're really just kind of ding dongs.
Yeah, they're not FBI.
Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of times you'll see in stories that it's the other way around, like smaller agencies are usually like, oh, these effing federal agents don't know what the hell they're doing. We deal with this stuff on a daily basis in our town. This is our town. Yeah. And they usually know like the ins and outs of how the people around operate and everything. But this one's the complete opposite. It's the Willem Dafoe's the super smart guy, super intellectual. So much so that, he gets the detective's name right. Apocalypse or whatever the heck is the guy's name was. It's a Greek last name, but nobody ever got that right before. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm whatever he said, like a nameologist or a wordologist or whatever the hell he said. It's just kind of hilarious.
Yeah, no, he just knows all the kinds of stuff. But yeah, no, he's always putting these guys down. Like these guys have like they'll give their opinions on like what they think the crime thing is. He's like, that's fucking stupid. Let me tell you how this really went down.
Well, what's funny about this scene though is it's the one with El Duce where he shoots off Del Rocca's fingers and doesn't kill any of them. But
he wounds some of the brothers.
He does. I kind of forgot about that. But he talks about, they were firing at like 6 dudes or whatever, and one of the ding dong cops is like, or it was just a guy with 6 guns. He's like, no, and of course that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, he's got the cool vest that's got like the 6 guns going down. He pulls them out, bam, 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 pulls the next set out, bam, 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 bam. And it's just a badass scene where they're in like suburbia and everything like that, and they're just shooting the living daylights out of this house up and just having this big old gunfight outside. And this is one thing about this movie is I think about it. I think everybody's guns in this, everybody uses pistols, and generally everybody holds they hold two pistols at once. Like everything's very John Woo. I don't think there is too many other guns in this movie.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's all pistols except for Il Duce, who does use a sawed-off shotgun at one point.
Oh, that's right. Towards the end, I forgot he does.
Yeah. But then, was it? So yeah, they nobody dies there, and Willem Dafoe has a freak out again because the blood that splattered. The brothers were smart enough to spray something on it. It was alcohol. Ammonia. Yeah. And of course she's like, "This is useless. Fuck," and crawls around in the garden or in the bushes and finds Del Rocco's finger, and finds out who they are. And this is where he has his turning point. Finds out that it all starts connecting because he remembers where the when the boys when they turn themselves in, and he's like, "Yeah, we got nothing to hold you." He remembers seeing Del Rocco come in, give him some clothes, and they all leave. And he gets all hammered there's another hilarious scene. He goes to the gay bar and he's drinking, and the bartender is like, I think you've had enough. And he's like, "Just pour the drink, you fag," or whatever he says. And
yeah,
says something silly like, "I can smell you from here," just super, super silly. And I guess he's there for like the whole night or some shit.
Yeah, because he literally comes out in the morning just stumbling out. Probably those guys are like, "Jesus, when's this guy gonna leave?" Like,
that's funny, man. That's actually super accurate. That's just like when my wife is closing the bar down. It's something I never thought about before. Every time I go to a bar or a restaurant at night, that they're like the food's done, but they're still serving till people
midnight or whatever the heck.
And I always had the idea like, hey, I mean, if I'm coming in, I'm giving them money, right? Well, no, especially if I don't tip well. It's like they're there for another hour or two for the restaurant to make another $6 and for them to make another maybe $3.
Yeah.
And
people don't really, there comes a certain point where it doesn't matter. The money doesn't matter anymore. Like you can kind of care. It gets late enough. You've been there all day long. I remember the same thing of like doing DJing and so on like that. I remember there's one time it was like a birthday party or whatnot. And those are signs like kind of like the worst. Cause then, it's a bunch of like, I guess 40-year-olds that wanted to like party, and they only want gangster rap. That was it. Like, so I had to fill like 8 hours of gangster rap. I mean, I went through everything twice practically.
45, 50-year-old white women are asking you to play Tupac, and
yeah, that was all it was. It was like but like if you went too far back, it was like you did Run DMC, too old. You know what I mean? You went a little bit too farther forward. Yeah, like it was just like, oh yeah, like, well, you don't know your rapper. I was like, oh Jesus, there's only so much I can choose here. But I remember like they just kept doing that thing. They're like, hey man, like another hour. Here's money. Here's another hour, man. Let's just keep going. Let's keep this party going. And then it was just like, at first like, okay, whatever. But it's like I'm not really getting like all this money when you go an extra hour. I'm just getting paid the basic. Then they go like another hour, and then I remember like the power went out and I was like, thank Christ. Like I started breaking things down, and I saw this guy waddling out with a fucking generator. It's like, no, you put that generator back. Don't you it was like 2:30 in the morning. It's like, no, that generator stays here. Don't you dare pull that out. You hook up a goddamn Bluetooth speaker and you play whatever the hell you want from this point forward.
Yeah,
I'm out of here.
Oh man, gosh. But yes. So Willem Dafoe, of course, he he shuts the bar down and wakes up in the morning and starts to waddle into the church that the McManus brothers are in.
Yeah, like, it just happens to me.
They're sitting over there praying, and he just walks right by him into the confessional. This is a hilarious scene too. He goes into the box. The priest goes in the box with Dave Del Rocco. Dave Del Rocco's got the priest's head in his hands. Defoe's talking to the priest. Dave Del Rocco's talking to the priest and telling him to, answer. But then Connor comes in and says, "What the hell are you doing?" And
that's a priest, goddammit.
Yeah, exactly. And so Connor's got his hands on Del Rocco. Del Rocco's got his hands on the priest, and the priest is talking to Willem Dafoe. And it's so freaking hilarious because the priest is sitting there like, am I gonna die right now? And Defoe's talking to the priest about the McManus brothers, you know, and he's saying like, I don't know, like I'm a man of the law, but these guys are really doing me a favor. Should I really, you know? And the priest is trying to be like, he's trying to be a priest.
Yeah, and, he's trying to comfort him and so on, doing the best he can.
Trying to do that and still like not be not have his morals in question, you know. And it's hilarious because Dafoe, it's almost like he didn't even need the priest there to get to his conclusion about the brothers and about what he's going to do from there, you know. And the priest though he tells the priest like, I know what I have to do. I'm going to help these boys out, you know, like, and basically like, we're going to kill these criminals, you know. And the priest is like, like he says, Defoe says, thank you, Father. And the priest says, I'm sorry, like, forgive me, Father. And it's kind of a hilarious scene. And then, of course, they go, the brothers and Della Rocco try to go take out that one Italian boss that Della Rocco worked for.
Yeah, Papa John.
Yeah. And it didn't work out for him. And what's his name? Della Rocco dies. Pretty gut-wrenching scene. Like, the brothers are visibly shaken, to say the least. Super pissed off about it. And yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure that the Don didn't even know the McManus brothers, and but they just failed in their quest of trying to kill the guy. But this was probably one of the best moments in the movie where, you know, Defoe comes in there in drag, and the one Italian dude like is oblivious to the fact that it's a man, and then the other guy is too. But it was so funny when he seduces the guy, gets on the floor, and the dude's about to get nasty with him, and then Defoe kicks him in the nuts and kills him. And that's when he gets up. This is after like making out with him.
Yeah.
This is when Defoe gets up and says, like, too far. He's in full on drag, makeup on, wig wearing, in a dress, panties, like Victoria's Secret panties. And, you know, this is where it says too far. And then smokes the other dude, and then sees the other two escape, and then I guess he leaves after that. And then forgot about it. So El Duce shows up, and this is when, you know, they're saying their prayer, and he finishes it for him, and he turns out to be none other than their dad.
Yeah, just the long lost father.
Isn't that poetic?
Yeah, it's weird because sometimes some of this stuff almost feels like it's written like an anime. I don't know why. Like, when we explain it out loud, like, that's like how some of these things line up. Like,
it really is, actually. I wanted to say that earlier, and then I just didn't. I don't know why. But some of the parts of this movie do seem like an anime because they're very outrageous. You know, outrageous, kind of. I don't want to say cliche. Because I usually things that are cliche I don't like that much, but it's very it's nothing that you don't really it's expected, some of the things that happen. And like I said, the thing about the third wheel, like, you know something's going to happen with Rocco, and of course he gets killed. When I rewatched it, I forgot that he got killed by the mob boss. And when they had that first initial shootout with El Duce, I thought that's where he was going to die. And then he didn't. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And so on and so forth. But that climax where they're, you know, this is post Rocco's death, where it goes to later on in the story where the Italian boss is in the courtroom. He's going to court over, you know, being a murderer and everything. And it's so funny, man. They have like his grandma up there. They're trying to use her as like, oh, he's just a family man, you know. And
he's just a good boy, you know. He pays his taxes, has his vitamins.
Yeah. but that whole scene where they go through the brothers and the father, the McManuses, they go in there and kind of hold the court hostage and tell everyone this is the way it's going to be. If you're if you mean us harm, if you mean anybody harm, if you're a killer or rapist, whatever, we're going to take you out, and that's all there is to it. And I thought that was so Frank Castle like.
It's 100%. Well, that's the thing. It's very comic booky is how this movie kind of plays out. Like in a weird way, it almost might even work sort of better as a comic book series, because you could take it to so many places. You could take it even more over the top. You could really run with it.
Yeah, no, really. But yeah, this scene in particular made me think of Frank Castle, the Punisher. Why? Because they're not wearing masks. Every time they'd done a hit before, usually they were masks and stuff. Mm-hmm. And this time it was like they're in front of a ton of people, and they're just decided to do it with their face open. And of course, I think they wanted people to know who they were. They wanted mm-hmm. people to have a face go with the name, to go with the idea of what's going to happen to you if you are a terrible criminal.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty cool. And doing that whole thing, like I could only imagine, like if that was happening in real life, if that happened in real life, like everybody in that courtroom would be pooping their pants.
Yeah. And, these Irish guys just came in here, a bunch of guns.
And it's kind of funny too. There's almost a little bit of historical significance there too, with the events of the film, the protagonists, the antagonists. Of course, they blew away some Russians, but the ultimate antagonist in the film was the Italian guy.
Yeah,
and,
Papa John.
Yeah, and historically, at least in the U.S., in like when the country was being built up in the 1800s and there was a lot of Irish immigration, the Irish were painted as like ghouls, almost like like heathenish, like trash. And there was a lot of
kind of forget is that the Irish were kind of the, especially back in the 17 and 1800s, they were the low end guys who did the worst of the worst jobs.
They were the Irish and the Chinese.
Yeah, the Chinese was the other one too. It's like, in a sense, you hate to sort of say it, but they were like the proto kind of like immigrants, like the Mexicans who kind of have like the, do all the farm labor and all that stuff. Well, that was what the Irish used to do, and the Chinese used to, give them a dynamite in one hand, run into a cave and see what happens. If you make it out cool, you can do it again. If not, well, we got another one.
Yeah, it was like the railroad was pretty much built by the Chinese and the Irish. Of course, there's, like for everybody that's going to say, well, my grandpa was Polish and he worked on, like, of course there was
other people
doing it, but largely you had on the West Coast mainly Chinese building it, and then the East Coast had the Irish doing that. They met in the middle, and that's pretty much how the railroads were built. But there's the Italians and the Irish really didn't get along in the America's early history, and like you had the largely the Protestant Italians, which is funny enough. The Irish were Catholics, mm-hmm. and I never quite understood why, being that they were Catholic, there was still so much hatred towards them, because the Italians were,
Catholic too.
Yeah. A lot of them, like the New Englanders that were Protestants and stuff, they were more close with the Italians than the Irish were. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting.
Well, because that's that classic, like, almost like that 1800s New York demographic. It goes in the 1900s, but like, because you just had all these like different boroughs and so on like that, and everybody there was just different ones. So you had the Italians, you had the Irish, you had the Jewish, you had of course the English and everything like that too. And this, like, everybody just was in their own little groups. And then as time went on, of course, you had the Northern Europeans, then you had all the other countries and so on. Of course, it adds in the Russians and whatnot, and you just had these like areas. And the only reason why gangs and stuff like that form up is because people stick to like who they know, especially when there's different languages involved and customs and so on like that. And you're just everybody's trying to find their way into fitting into the U.S.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, unrelated but kind of related. I'm a late in life child. My parents were pretty old when I was born, and my father's father was Italian, born in New York, and he served in World War II, as did his future wife, or the woman who would become his wife. But he was like, I don't want to say he had an arrangement for a marriage, but he was like supposed to marry this other Italian girl that he knew before he went and overseas during World War II. Well, he met his wife, who would be my father's mom, who was Irish, and his family, his mother primarily, was just like so mad about it, so mad. And he was supposed to marry this woman named Josephine, this Italian girl from New York, and instead he comes back home married to this girl named Florence Kavanaugh, and of course, his mom's super pissed. But my father's mom decided to name her second son, or her first son, sorry, gave him the middle name Joseph, in honor of the woman that my father was supposed to marry.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah. So I do, like I said, I like how, and you see this with, I think probably a good amount of movies that are centered around like the Boston, New England, like the kind of the East Coast states. I think you usually do see a lot of the, I want to say, sibling rivalry, we can say, you know what I mean? The clash of clans sort of thing.
Well, yeah, I feel like there's something that, like, I guess maybe just from being from California, and I just look over there, especially if it's all based on movies and so on, but even just everybody I've known from like that area and so on, like that Boston and New York and all that stuff. I love that, like, there's that kind of like, you can just like talk shit and have feuds and everything like that, but it's not like it's like a
but you still
bad thing
afterward.
Exactly. Like, well, like where I feel like there's things that, like, I hate to sort of say it, but there's things over in like the East Coast that like they just say freely that if you said that in California, they'd be like, oh my God, did you just say, like, you know what I mean? Like, and believe me, because I've tried some of this, you know, East Coast dialogue throughout time because I've watched so many movies. None of it works in California the same way. It does not, maybe also movie dialogue doesn't always work in real life, but
and I've kind of noticed that about the Midwest too. It's the Midwest. It's weird when you try to dial down the regions of the country. Some people have different ideas about what is what. I've met certain people that said Missouri's the South. And then some people say, no, it's not.
it's literally more north than like a lot of other states.
Yeah. And like, okay, I guess you could say Southern Missouri is Southern, but it's still kind of weird. It really is. But anyway, I
mean, I call Los Angeles the South, so I don't know what. God, it's the deep South.
It's Mexico, man.
Yeah, we're pretty much just literally south of the border.
From the deep South. God, that'd be funny if they did a sequel to that movie.
I love Little Nicky. I know that's that one that, like, that's
my favorite Adam Sandler film. That, and
yeah, when I was growing up, everybody loved Little Nicky, but then I kind of learned later in life that movie was not as popular as I thought it was amongst me and my friends.
My mind.
Yeah. I think it might be, this sounds weird, but there was we're like kind of off topic, but this is still that same time period that Boondock Saints came out. That late 90s and into early 2000s, there was a lot of like satanic movies, if that makes sense. Yeah. You know, there was Arnold Schwarzenegger's End of Days. I mean, you could even say Constantine with Stigma, Devil's Advocate. Like, you know, there's a handful. I'm trying to blank on them right now, but like a lot of those kind of ones, or even just devil, like in the title, like Devil Wears Prada and all that kind of stuff, you know. So they had all these movies at that time period, but I don't think they were ever popular. I think that they released a lot of them because somebody thought this was going to be like the new wave, but I don't think they ever really caught on super well, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So going back to the Boondock Saints, they breached the court. They take the the mob boss, Papa, what's his name?
Papa John.
Papa John.
Papa John. I didn't forget that because I'm like, dude, he's got the pizza parlor going. You know what I mean?
They hold him hostage in front of everybody, and then they do it off screen, but they blow his brains out, and you know, give all the criminals the warning, and which is very bold. There were only 3 guys, but yeah. But then what I love especially. Well, and then you also have, of course, Willem Dafoe, who's kind of in on it, and then that other cop with the Greek last name, he's also kind of there helping him out too.
Yeah.
And but post that scene, the end credits I really liked, because it's like you got that whole divisiveness, between the people who have differing opinions on vigilantism. And of course, you got the people that are like, "Of course, I'm down with these guys." Like they're doing us a favor. And then there's other people like, "Well, what? So they just grab a gun and just go shoot whoever they want?" It's like, well, I mean, they're killing criminals. I mean, I don't know if it's such a bad thing. They're killing the people that would kill you. Does that make you feel better?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But then it's like there's always that weird thing where it's like when do they cross the line too far, or when does when they think they're helping things out they make it worse, because there is always those kind of things. I guess that if you had to sit down and think about it, I like the idea of my police officers being like Judge Dredd, where they got full authority, or RoboCop. I know that I always love how England goes like, we made that as a joke, that character, and Americans think he's the greatest thing ever.
I love Judge Dredd.
I do too. I don't give a fuck. I'm like, I want that to be my police officers.
I didn't even know there's a new RoboCop. I say new.
Oh, like the 2012 or whatever the heck it was.
Or
something like that. I'll say it's not bad. It's not as great as the original 3, of course, but it's not bad. Still worth watching. I almost kind of want to give it a watch again. I saw it in theaters and that was it, but it's decent enough for a little remake or something like that. It kind of reminds me of like the Total Recall remake that they had, where it's like it's not the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, but it's still got some interesting stuff going on.
No, I actually didn't see the remake either. That one didn't that have Colin Farrell?
Yeah, Colin Farrell in it.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
And he doesn't go to Mars, but I think it's more based off the Philip K. Dick book.
Oh.
So I give it a little bit more. If that's what they're going with, I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, like, you're not basing it off like a remake of the Paul Verhoeven thing. It's more just like a retelling of the book. So it's like, it's kind of like they have that Running Man movie coming out. There's another. But they're going off the book in a sense, because dude, Stephen King's like on a fucking roll right now for dude, he literally has I was at the movie theaters. There's 3 movie posters in a row that are his. It's like, Jesus. He's like filling that book. He's like, hey, you know what? The cinemas might be going out, but I'm going to fill it up with all my material. But it's one of those ones. I love the Running Man Arnold Schwarzenegger one, but I'm kind of interested to see the book's interesting in itself, because in the Stephen King book, the Running Man takes place across the entire United States, like a cannonball run type thing.
I didn't even know that was a Stephen King book.
He puts it under his other pen name, like Richard Stark or whatever the heck it is. So nowadays it says Stephen King, but back in the day it said Richard Stark.
I see.
I think that's the thing, is once you get to a point where you're writing so many books, you're like, fuck, I just have a couple of ones that are under another name.
I guess they probably didn't want it to be like, people would probably expect a horror story out of that if it was written as Stephen King.
Yeah, so he could kind of do sci-fi and some alternative stuff that way. It makes sense, I guess, and you could do it that way. Well, then plus you almost probably if people don't like you, maybe they'll pick up Richard Stark. That's
why I have my other pen name, Scrody McBoogerballs.
Yeah, because then I can write my real sophisticated stuff when I do that.
That took a pee.
the real serious shit.
My butterscotch. I used to have that. I had this little box set that was I got rid of it because I was stupid, but it was a box set of just butter stuff. It had a few episodes with Butters in it on DVD, and it had some little I don't know, little toys or some crap. They weren't really toys. They were just collectibles. And then it had the book in there that Butters wrote, The Poop That Took a Pee.
That's hilarious.
With the main character, Scrody McBoogerballs. Anyway.
So they used to put those cool little sets out, but yeah, no, the Boondock Saints, it's got that cool ending. They got all the news camera testimonial reports and so on like that, that kind of show it there. But no, it's one of those ones, it's a neat movie, and I feel like the more you know about kind of the making of it is very interesting, for the fact that okay, here's a guy's first movie, literally practically going to be his only movie, I mean, other than the sequel.
And they're working on, apparently the third one might be in the works again, because it was kind of a back and forth thing for years.
Yeah.
From what I read recently, it was just a few days ago, it looks like that might be in the works again.
Yeah, I saw a little bit on that too. Who kind of, I hate to start saying it's like, sometimes it's like once it gets to a certain point, like it's like, it's, 2006 was when the second one was. So it's going to be 20 years since when the second one came out.
So 2024, March, Thunder Road Films, Dragonfly Films, and Impossible Dream Entertainment announced a reimagining of the franchise, with Reedus and Flanery reprising their roles and serving as executive producers, although Duffy would not return as director.
It kind of makes sense though, because it's like, I hate to try to say it, like he's only done 2 movies, and it's not like he made short films. He didn't even continue his. I don't even know what he did. Like I was trying to figure that out. I'm like, I was looking there. His Wikipedia thing like ends after Boondock Saints 2, so it's like I don't know what the heck else he's done. I think he just kind of is. Well, it's like if you watch that documentary, he's kind of an ass. Like I will say, like you kind of go like, okay, like he has a good movie, I'll give him that, but you can kind of see it's like he just says shit. So it's kind of like, yeah, I see why people don't really want to work with him. You know what I mean? He doesn't seem like he's not incompetent. He obviously directed a good movie and so on like that, but. Yeah, he probably was that guy who would just say shit, and then that would just piss other people off, and that kind of ended it there. Because that's the thing is like he didn't make it like really any money off this, because apparently he didn't get the rights for the home video market, which is where all the money was made on this.
I guess that's the way most cult films with cult followings go. It's always the streaming and home video, but because this movie is like one of those like definitive like cult ones, where it's just like it was literally word of mouth. It was definitely the pass around DVD, maybe VHS if you probably had an early copy and so on like that. And that's kind of how it is. But it's weird. It's like, because as big as it kind of was, like, it felt like it was just a big deal in about the late 2000s. I felt was when its popularity was like at its max. Yeah. Strangely enough, like almost 10 years after it came out, I just don't hear anybody ever talk about this one nearly as much anymore. It hasn't had that same longevity that other action movies have. Like, I'll even say just Pulp Fiction, Scarface. Yeah. Like those films that you still kind of keep seeing stuff about. People are still wearing T-shirts and so on. Exactly. You'll still see those, like that kind of stuff sold in the store.
Yeah. And it's like, I used to see Boondock Saints stuff. I think there's a period where it used to even appear in Hot Topic and everything like that. But that's kind of it, And as I said, it feels like it's almost like a little bit too late. I feel like if they went to do another Boondock Saints one, if they did like say a third one or whatever the heck they decided for reimagining, I almost have a feeling it wouldn't be a major motion picture. It would get sent straight to some goofy. It'd be like straight to like Paramount or Peacock, one of those like off-brand streaming services.
I don't know. Now Norman Reedus has much more of a following than he did.
That's true. Norman Reedus is actually humongous. Like, so really, it's strange enough because in this movie, when this movie came out, he's kind of the small actor in it.
Yeah.
Now he's almost the biggest actor of them all. I mean, Willem Dafoe is still like the classic, but especially compared to Sean Patrick Flanery, who at the time he was the big like young guy, and now he's kind of the forgotten one. Yeah, he's powdered, but he's indie. He's the young Indiana Jones.
It's interesting. Norman Reedus was actually a model before he was an actor. I didn't know
it's
that.
so weird because he's really not that great looking of a guy. I don't mean to say it in like a bad way, but like, you know what I mean? He's not like a Brad Pitt or something like that. He's got kind of like that. Like the best way to sort of say it is he's got a very alternative look.
He does actually. I think a lot of people would crucify you for your opinion.
It's weird because maybe it's just not just a man one, but it's like I just go like I like the actor a lot, but I think he's kind of like he's got like that.
He just doesn't do it for me.
He's kind of goofy.
I want nothing to do with him physically, like as opposed to all the other male actors,
Well,
but it's great film.
So it's probably up to Norman Reedus that this thing gets done.
Probably.
I mean, he's in the Hideo Kojima games right now, so he's kind of got the power. But who knows if he even wants to anymore? It's been so long. Once again,
I don't know. That statement was released last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go see a new one if there's a new one out there. I mean, I wouldn't miss it. You know,
I haven't seen the second one yet, so I got to watch that.
Yeah, well, that might have to be one we have to do in the future, anyways, because I wouldn't mind seeing it again. I haven't seen it since it came out either, so you know, it'd be nice to kind of check that out again. I remember it being like it's.
I've heard that it's just not as good, but
it's decent. But yeah, it's not a classic like the Boondock Saints is. You know, it's kind of like I don't know that kind of like it's a follow up, but you know. It's weirdly, if you didn't see it, I don't feel like you're missing out. But since it is there, I feel like it is worth watching. If that makes any sense.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Boondock Saints is one of those ones worth watching again. I think it still holds up pretty well. I will say I did think I liked it more back in the day when I was kind of younger and really just getting into filmmaking, all that kind of stuff. Like it hit perfectly for that. Like, oh man, like this is like a movie you could kind of make and so on like that. I definitely really enjoyed it still watching it again, no doubt. But I do kind of see it as like where it is, you know, a little bit like a first timers movie and a little bit like of like a, you know, a lesser Tarantino style film. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't think you could compare it up to the same like caliber as that, but that's still not taking away that it is still fun. It's got great action, good comedy, and it's very interesting the whole way through. And if anything, Willem Dafoe just chews scenery like nobody's business. Like he tells you
in this movie.
He tells you why he's like one of the best actors of all time. you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, Boondock Saints, really cool. Check that bad boy out. Until then, you can go see all the other Old Man Orange podcasts on both Spotify and YouTube. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido. And don't be a criminal unless you want to get murdered by Irishmen.
Exactly. Or the Punisher. And with that, we'll see you some other time.